INQ&A. The Inquirer question and answer program comes to you every Tuesday. Every week we sit down with a newsmaker to discuss the issues of the day. And today we have a very special guest. INQ&A is of course on Radyo Inquirer 990, but it is also carried live on Facebook through inquirer.net. It is also covered by the different social media platforms of the Inquirer Group, including FireChat, Twitter, Kakao, Line, and Viber. We are also on Inquirer 990 Digital Television. My name is John Neri. I'm editor-in-chief of Inquirer.net. And with me is my co-host, the chief of reporters of Inquirer.net, Christine Sabilio.
Good evening, John, and good evening to everyone watching tonight. In line with tradition, I will be sharing with you 3 things about our special guest. Like last week, we will have 3 numbers for you. So this week it will be 3, 2, and 1. What do these numbers mean? So number 3, because he was elected thrice as Senate President during the Estrada, Arroyo, and Aquino administrations. 2, for being appointed Justice Secretary twice, the first by Cory and the second by Ramos. And 1, for bagging the number 1 spot during the Senate elections this year. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us tonight Senate President Pro Tempore Franklin Drilon. Sir, welcome to our show.
Christine, thank you. And John, magandang gabi po.
Magandang gabi po, Senator Bigman Drilon. Thank you for making time for this. Magtatanong na po kami. Marami
Sige, dahil lang sa kami galing ko sa trabaho at tinatapos namin ang ating budget. Kaya baka pagkatapos ito, babalik muna ako ulit para matapos namin bago po itong linggong ito ang ating budget.
We have an hour left, so maybe we will have time later to talk about specific items in the budget.
Sure, yeah.
But if you don't mind, I'd like to ask first a question that's making the rounds. Malakas ang ugong na meron daw 2 senador na papangalanan ni Kerwin Espinosa. Isa doon, sinabi na ni Manny Pacquiao, si Senator Laila de Lima daw. Yung umuugong na balita, kayo daw yung second senator. Ano po ang masasabi niyo dyan?
Unang sinasabi rin ni Senator Pacquiao na talagang isa lang.
Okay.
Pangalawa, ang sabi ni Senator Lacson, hawak niya ang affidavit ni Kerwin Espinosa, isang pangalan na babanggit doon. Kaya ang aking masasabi, John, Christine, ito po ay kasama siguro sa ating maruming pamumulitika sa mga panahon ngayon. Obviously, this is character assassination. There is no truth to it. And I will not dignify, this work of obvious political operators. Kaya maliwanag, ito'y paninira at ito'y nanggagaling sa mga taong talagang wala nang ginawa kung hindi sumali sa mga ganitong klaseng usapin. Kaya wala pong katotohanan.
You think Liberal Party members are being targeted? Kasi kung hindi po kayo, ang binabanggit naman si Senator Ontiveros or si Senator Trillanes na aliado naman ni Senator De Lima.
Or the lately, si Vice President Leonina. Ay talagang that is why we should be more discerning, especially with the way social media has penetrated our society. Kailangan po mag-ingat tayo. Tingnan natin na husto yung ating nababasa lalo na sa Facebook na marami naman dito ay manipulasyon at trabaho ng mga walang magawa siguro sa buhay o talagang ganun ang buhay, ang hanap buhay nila.
Yun ang hanap, baka yun ang hanap buhay.
Yan ang hanap buhay. Kaya ganun lang and we're used to this.
Senator, that's medyo mainit yung mga tanong from social media. We have one question from Teddy Esguera. Ito, lumulutang na to the past few weeks. Is it true that Mayor Mabilog is your cousin? And what can you say about your alleged about walang nakalagay kung ano ba ito?
What can you say about
the alleged
involvement in the drug trade? Well, yes, Mayor Mabilog is my second cousin. Now, the alleged involvement in the drug trade up to now is all allegation. There is not a single piece of evidence presented that he is involved in the drug trade. I think that's a it's basic. Who even you need not be a lawyer to understand the logic that he who alleges must prove. Hindi naman po pwede that you convict one on the basis of mere allegations. And there is, I will repeat, wala pong pruweba na ipinakita na si Mayor Mabilog ay sangkot sa droga. I'm not trying to defend him. He can defend himself. What I'm just stating is there is no evidence presented as of today.
Sir, have you spoke to him recently? Have he said anything to you about the controversy that he's facing right now?
No, well, I haven't. I talked to him, but nothing of any deep discussion on this. In the first place, I'm busy. We're working on the budget, and he's also busy. I haven't had really an opportunity to sit down with him. I know, however, and he has told me he's not involved. And I repeat, Christine, up to now, walang ebidensya. So, in fairness naman, again, especially because of the social media today, sana naman kung sasabihin mo ang isang tao ay may pagkukulang, lalo na po sa ganitong masela na bagay, sana naman po mayroon tayong ebidensya.
Senator, since June 30, parang almost every other problem in the Philippines is now drug-related. Sa tingin niyo ba, also maybe because of Facebook or other social media platforms, the drug problem has been exaggerated?
I will not go to that extent. There is a drug problem. I'm not prepared to say it is exaggerated because I really haven't examined, the evidence. But there is a drug problem that we face today. But certainly, I do not find killing as a way of solving the problem.
Kasi yung halimbawa, the president who has been waging this war on drugs, ilang beses na niya binabanggit na noong una may 3 million drug personalities. Yun yung jargon. Tapos naging 3.7 million. Minsan sinasabi pa niya naging 4 million na. But as far as we can tell, the latest statistics from the PDEA itself puts the number only at around 1.6 or 1.8 million. So parang doon na lang na-doble na kaagad, ano?
Yeah, John, but whatever the number is, whether 3.7 or 1.7, there is a drug issue, and this is not a monopoly of the Philippines. It's everywhere. So it's a question of what kind of policy should or remedy should be adopted to solve this problem. So I am not prepared to say that the problem has been exaggerated because I do not have in my possession enough information to make that kind of a judgment.
Senator, I don't recall you taking part in the committee hearings on the EJ case.
I did participate initially, but I was frustrated while I did it, so I...
bakit po kayo na-frustrate? Ano ba?
Well, there was so much to me. For example, we asked for certain documents, it's not produced, or and the partisanship among the senators has colored the investigation.
Wow. Coming from you, I mean, as Senate President, former Senate President, medyo...
I call a spade a spade. And, that's really how I feel about it.
Senator, we usually ask the senators who guest with us, what do you think should be the focus of the EJK hearings? For you, what should be the point of the hearings?
To me, the focus of the extrajudicial killings, to me, is an offshoot of impunity. We should show to our people that indeed we can punish crimes by going through a process. We cannot have shortcuts, and that should be the focus. Why is there a failure of the system? Christine, John, the yun pong social weather, yung mga surveys, indicates some degree of support. Why? Because my take is that yung tao sinasabi, wala na nangyayari sa ating sistema ng hustisya. Now, that is, in my mind, what the reason for what appears to be the support that that extrajudicial killings are getting, and to me, this is because people are frustrated with our justice system, and therefore these investigations that we're having should focus on how we can reform our system so that people will believe that going through the process is the solution rather than taking the law into their own hands.
Pero mahirap po yung trabaho ninyo kasi yung halimbawa sa nangyari kay Mayor Espinosa, yung nangyari sa kanya, yun ang pinagtutuunan ng pansin. Parang yun ang nakikita ng tao, very dramatic. But what you're talking about, like what reforms need to be put in place, justice system.
Yeah, well, yes, that was in response to your question, what is the purpose of all this investigation?
No, I mean, so parang hindi siya masyadong, yung tao, pag nanonood, ang pinapansin niya, yung dramatic.
Yes.
Di ba?
Yes.
Yung,
Well, yes.
yung trabaho na
Dapat
reform,
doon.
medyo hindi na masyadong napapansin.
Ganun talaga ang ating sambayanan. Ganun talaga ang audience natin. And that is the challenge to us, to overcome this misconception or this attraction to drama rather than to the real work to be done. So that is continuing challenge.
Do you agree with Senator Ontiveros when she was our guest last time? She was saying the drug problem should be considered a public health issue and should be addressed that way instead of...
Well, that's one view, and that's something that we have to take seriously. It is a public health issue. The government must devote resources in order to assist our people in resolving in solving this ailment. Together, and with that, apart from being a public health issue, as I said, it's the confidence in our people, in our ability to address these problems through the legal system, so that the killings, there is no impunity, a feeling of impunity, because nobody gets punished.
Senator, if you can move from extrajudicial killings to superjudicial burial. Pag-usapan po natin yung Supreme Court decision, tapos yung surprise or shock burial ng remains of the late dictator Ferdinand Marcos last Friday, November 18.
Yeah.
First of all, ano pong tingin niyo dito? What's your take?
I condemn the burial in the Libingan. The fact that on a very flimsy excuse that the court has lifted the status quo ante order suddenly on a Friday morning. Is it? They bring the remains of the former President Marcos. The case is still pending in the Supreme Court, and the motion for reconsideration, there's still a period for motion for reconsideration, and yet suddenly they brought him and buried him there. This is a total disrespect of the judicial process, and the fact that the case has been decided is no excuse, because until you have exhausted the period within which to file a motion for reconsideration, the case is still outstanding, it's still pending. There is no entry of judgment. So, nakakalungkot po. But that's why...
what are the... Sir, as a former Justice Secretary, as a leading lawyer for many years, and as a senator, ano sa tingin niyo, what are the options open to the Supreme Court? So kahapon yata naghahain uli ng yung petition kahit na
you know what the Marcoses did was to place the Supreme Court in a very difficult position. because the options of the Supreme Court justices are not that many. Just imagine the situation dyan. Baliktarin nila and say, he cannot be buried. So what will we do? Exhume? So the Marcoses, I don't know why they do that. If they feel strongly about the righteousness of the cause, why do they have to sneak in and bury him in that manner?
Senator, anong tingin nyo? I think Senate President Coco Pimentel, may mungkahi siya na palitan ng pangalan ng libingan ng mga bayani. Do you think it's helpful to change the name?
I think I am not so sure that is the solution. Let history judge us all for what had happened. Changing the name to me will not do.
But the nature of the cemetery, kasi yun pala, it's not only a national military cemetery, it's also a national shrine.
Yes.
So that the fact that you're buried there means you're being
With
honored.
more reason.
Yeah.
With more reason
Okay.
that it should not have happened. That is why I don't believe that changing the name of the cemetery will change anything.
Senator, what can you say to the thousands of people who are protesting against that? Ano pa ba ang pwede nilang asahan na positive from what is happening right now?
I do not know, but I support the protest. Certainly, sa akin, karapat-dapat lamang na iparating sa sambayanan ang damdamin ng taong bayan, lalo na po yung mga kabataan. Here, it's very clear that the people, especially the youth, feel betrayed by what had happened. So, as I said, to show their disapproval or protest is part of our constitution. Maybe this will this will result in our officials being more careful about being more sensitive about deciding issues such as this.
Senator, before we ask the next question, maybe you can just say hi first. Right now, we have viewers watching on Facebook Live from Japan and from Barcelona in Spain.
Yes, and the question is, what do you think is your biggest contribution that made an impact to the lives of the Filipinos? This is from Japan and Barcelona. Early in my career, I authored the Dual Citizenship Act, which allowed precisely our people to our former Filipino citizens who lost their citizenship to go back to their land of birth and have an opportunity to participate in our national affairs. I can enumerate a few others, but to me, since this is from Japan and Barcelona, I think I can cite that as one of the things that changed the lives of our Filipinos. John, marami po naloloko ng mga kababayan natin dahilan sa pagkatapos sila maging dayuhan noon at sila mag-i-invest dito, gumagamit sila ng mga dami. Ngayon, with that law, they're again Filipino citizens and they can buy property, and it's not a small matter because we talk about the fortunes of our people who would toil in order to earn a living abroad, and so their opportunity to go back to the land of their birth is something that they value.
Senator, you've been in public service for over 30 years plus, maybe? About 30?
About 24, yeah, about 30.
About 30, 1986.
30, yeah, 86, 87, yeah. 86, yeah.
86, 87. So, 30 years.
Yes, 30 years.
Ano bang masasabi nyo? Meron kasi mga kritiko na nagsasabi na bakit ba kayo nagko-complain dun sa Marcos burial? The Aquino government, the first one and the second one, had a chance to make it explicit na bawal and so on. Totoo nga bang walang nagawa ang previous administrations preventing the burial of Marcos?
The okay, I was part of the Aquino administration, first Aquino administration, and we took the position that he should not come back after he died
That's right,
in
yes.
1989. That there was a need to amend the law. Honestly, John, I'll be candid with you. It did. We did not foresee the possibility that they would insist on being buried in the Libigan ng mga Bayani. In fact, John, when in the negotiation during the administration of President Ramos,
That's right.
the settlement of this issue was arrived at.
That's
Meaning, there was a letter signed by Imelda that this corpse should be buried, or President Marcos should be buried in Ilocos Norte. And so everybody was, there was that letter, and everybody thought that should be honored.
Yeah. Senator, can I just ask you your lawyer's view? On the Supreme Court, the Diosdado Peralta majority opinion said binaliwala yung Ramos agreement, which was painstakingly put together by Rafael Alunan.
Yes.
Sabi niya, well, that was before. Now the president, president. Ano ba?
Those are, I don't agree. This is a personal agreement which should be binding on the family and the government. There is nothing that was, there is no allegation that fraud or intimidation accompanied the signing of that agreement. And therefore, this was freely entered into. It is not against public policy. It is not against morals, public morals. So it should be enforced. That is a binding.
In fact, it was a compromise, right? I mean, honors fitting major, but burial in Bota. So may ganong klaseng ano. So yung nga parang binaliwala lang nung. I found that Supreme Court majority opinion parang sweeping lahat eh. Not a single point was granted to the petitioners. Not even they're standing as taxpayers or as human rights victims. It's very difficult to understand. Senator, maybe one last question about this particular issue. Former President Ramos has given a press briefing where he said this is the biggest protest against the Marcos burial. He said, binaliwala yung previous agreement, and then he said that some units of the security services parang broke the law or did this surreptitiously.
It was an insult to the veterans.
And then in the end, it's an insult to the veterans and the heroes. Ano pong tingin niyo?
Well, I do appreciate the disappointment of President Ramos. Indeed, there was, he worked hard on this. He knew that it was a very sensitive issue. That is why he was able to get this agreement to have the cadaver buried in Ilocos Norte. This was totally disregarded. Libigan ng mga bayani it was disregarded. It was almost in his mind. It was desecrated. So I can understand where he's coming from, and I wish these views were expressed earlier. It would have influenced the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, today, nailibing na yan, and I don't know what else will happen.
Yun ang mahirap. Yung sinabi niyo po kanina na limited lang ang options ng Supreme Court.
Suprema.
Yeah,
that's why I can bet you, John, wala yan. The Supreme Court will maintain and will never change its decision. Because a reversal, can you imagine how chaotic that would be?
Well, but they have reversed themselves occasionally. I mean, sa mining.
Yes, John, but
Couple of times.
I'm just asking you to picture in your mind.
There's also a debate if you can exhume a body and
that's right. So it will become more complicated.
Religious and legal concerns.
So talagang
you go through the motions of filing a motion for reconsideration, but you know.
Yeah. Sorry,
can bet you.
maybe one more question about the
mm.
Marcos burial. Senator Risa had the filed that sense of the Senate resolution, and how did that happen? Let's talk about the Senate dynamics. Bakit ganun ang boto?
Firstly, there were 8 of us
Mhm.
who expressed support.
Mhm.
The reality is, each of us expressed his own opinion, and as I said in my remarks in support of to explain my vote, I said each of us expressed his or her view. Let history judge us for what we did today, because the Senate is a political body. So each of us would have his or her consideration in casting our vote in one way or the other. We are not responsible to anyone, but to the people when we come before them and ask for their support. So let it be judged that way.
Yung mga nag-abstain, were you convinced by their
John,
arguments?
I would suggest you invite them here.
Oh, some of them already were guests.
Yeah. I would not answer for them. I could not answer for them.
Yeah, yan ang yeah.
Senator, talking about your colleagues, Senator Joel Villanueva, what can you say about his situation, about being removed from public office?
Yes. Again, Christine, it's it's a very complicated legal issue. By the provision of the Constitution and the Ombudsman law, the Ombudsman has no jurisdiction over senators and congressmen,
Okay.
because senators and congressmen can only be punished, can only be disciplined by
The
by the
chambers.
respective houses, by the respective chambers. However, it is alleged that in this particular case, first he was charged as when he was no longer congressman nor senator, but as TESDA Director General, so he had his jurisdiction. But the acts complained of happened during his term as congressman. To me, it should be decided. It should be brought to the Supreme Court as soon as possible, so that this can be decided once and for all. I'm not aware of any precedent that can be cited to resolve this.
So, how will the Senate move here?
How will the Senate move?
Yeah, parang will the Senate...
If the court sustains the
No, I mean, bringing the suit to the Supreme Court, will the Senate be a party? I mean...
no.
Individual.
Senator
No.
Villanueva.
It is Senator Villanueva and the Ombudsman who will parties. No? Not the Senate.
So the Senate will not act on it.
The Senate will be a passive participant. We will just await the rulings of the Supreme Court, and we will follow the ruling of the Supreme Court. In fact, I think 2 weeks ago, JV Ejercito, who was suspended
That's right.
preventively, volunteered to comply, and he has complied, and he's under preventive suspension.
I know, he's been running every day. Nagpo-post sa Twitter. Matakbo siya. So that would be an interesting legal case to watch,
Yes, very interesting, John. Very
Villanueva
interesting.
versus the Ombudsman.
Yeah,
Or
very
the other way
interesting.
around.
Yes.
Wow.
So, there has been no case decided on this particular issue.
Senator, we'll be taking a break in a short while, but can you just please say hi to our viewers this time naman from Vienna in Austria and from Hong Kong.
Magandang gabi po sa ating mga kababayan sa Vienna at dyan po sa Hong Kong. Vienna is a beautiful country. Austria. Just last week I watched the Vienna Boys Choir.
Ganun ba? Senator, pag
Yes.
kampanya, when you're campaigning, do you campaign in Hong Kong also because of the...
Yes, and the last time, no, I did have an opportunity to campaign in Hong Kong, but I think I made good there.
Yeah. Speaking of making good, did you expect to top the Senate race?
No, I was being realistic. I said I have people running from the entertainment industry. And alam naman natin, Senator Soto is very popular. So I said, yeah, as long as I can be comfortable that I will not be, that I will not lose, I'm happy with that. But then as the surveys went on, I was placing number 2, number 1, and so I did work hard for it. And let me take this opportunity, late as it is, through the program, John, Christine, to thank our people for that mandate. Over 18 million votes for
Yes.
for the.
I wonder if you had a Grace po moment. Si Senator Grace may sinabi siya na when she topped the 2013 elections, hindi niya alam na magtatap siya. So yung unang tally, parang 4,000 votes pa lang lamang siya. She took a picture, tapos nagpa-selfie sila with her friends. Kasi sabi niya, hindi na mauulit yan. Kasi akala niya, yun pala, meron ba kayo?
Wala akong gano'n. I was not that innovative, but yes, I was very happy and I was very thankful to our people for believing in us, and I can assure them that I will continue to do my share in nation building.
Okay, Senator, I guess it's time for our commercial break. Ladies and gentlemen, this is still INQ&A with Senator Franklin Drilon. We'll be back after a minute.
Experience the most engaging Inquirer yet.
Yun ang diskusyon namin over the commercial break. Senator, pag-usapan po natin yung proposed revision of the Constitution or kasi the President campaigned on federalism as a main plank of his platform. But we've talked to others. So for instance, Majority Leader Tito Soto was our guest, and he said it's impossible to discuss itong before the budget is finished.
Oh, yes.
So ang sabi niya, the earliest is January. So maybe first, procedurally, in terms of time and so on, what are we looking at?
Yeah. Firstly, I am the chairman of the Committee on Constitutional Amendments, and it is in my committee that the matter of amending the Constitution will fall squarely.
Okay.
Okay, so the first step, and this is the first time I'm saying it, I will have the first public hearing on December 8th.
Wow.
December 8th.
December 8th. By the time we would have the budget is already in the bicameral conference committee,
Okay.
so we have free time. We're free, our calendar. On December 8th at 9 o'clock,
Okay.
I'll have the first committee hearing. The topics will be, number 1, is there a need to amend the Constitution?
Okay.
Why? If there is a need, in your view, what is the best mode of amending the Constitution? Through Constitutional Convention or through a Constituent Assembly? If it is through a Constitutional Convention, how many delegates should we have? If it's through a constituent assembly, would the two chambers be voting separately or jointly? So these are the questions that must be resolved in the committee hearing. And I would expect full blast hearings in January, but we start already in December.
Okay.
And I have invited several resource persons who hopefully can shed light on the various issues and can present to the people, and we can present to the people the issues involved in this.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
Yes. Now, then there's talk about federalism. I tell you that the debate on that will come only after
You agree?
we agree to amend the Constitution, and it may or even it may not take place in Congress, because if we agree on a constitutional convention,
That's right.
then it goes to the convention, not in Congress.
So far, do you think you have a majority of senators who are open to amending the Constitution regardless of form? Or do a lot of them...
I think the senators are open-minded. They have not foreclosed the need to amend the Constitution. For example, I can almost say with confidence that in many of the provisions which are quite restrictive, adding the phrase "unless otherwise provided by law" is something that will be acceptable to many members of the Senate, because you give flexibility. Without first discussing on the substance, you pass on the ability to revise the policy through Congress. So, to your question, Christine, I think my colleagues have an open mind on amending the Constitution, especially that, this is what, 87, this is 13, almost 30 years.
30 years next year.
30 years, huh? 30 years. And a lot of things have changed.
30 years in February, I think.
So, yes, 30 years in February.
Senator, yung sa, I think it's fair to say that the House, on the other hand, is set on changing the Constitution. I think Speaker Alvarez has been talking about that even before he officially became Speaker. And I think it's fair to say that he would have the numbers. So parang lumalabas, the real battleground is the Senate.
That's correct. That is why the real battleground is with us, and that is why it is very important, John, that if the direction is a constituent assembly, the issue of voting separately or jointly becomes very important. Let me relate to you an exchange that we had with the President during the National Security Council meeting.
Okay.
When this was early, about 5 months ago.
Yeah.
He just assumed, and he said, "I would prefer a constituent assembly rather than a constitutional convention," which was a change in his position.
That's right.
I said, "Mr. President, that can always be debated upon. But what is important in of the constituent assembly is, do we vote separately or do we vote jointly? Because if we vote jointly with the House, we might as well.
That's right.
You
You will be overwhelmed.
we will become irrelevant.
Yeah.
The Senate will become irrelevant." And after debating with him, I told him calmly, I said, the senators will not support a constituent assembly which will make the Senate irrelevant. Maybe we will go to a con in that case, because then you elect delegates to the Constitution. After he noticed that the validity of the position that we should vote separately, he agreed. He said, "All right, if you feel strongly about that, I have no problems with voting separately." So that's where it is today. But we haven't. The Senate has not decided first whether or not an amendment of the Constitution is something that is urgently is necessary. Number two, assuming that it is, what the mode of amending it has not been decided.
How about the Bangsamoro bill? How will it fit in with that? It's very complicated now because there's federalism.
I think this administration will not push the Bangsamoro law, because especially that first they're pushing for federalism, and that will become academic if delegated
Yes.
powers, etc.
If you agree on federalism,
Yes, it's
you wouldn't
basic,
need a Bangsamoro law.
you wouldn't need a Bangsamoro law. So, just as an assessment, I don't think that the president will push for the Bangsamoro law.
Senator, let's talk about the president. I mean, so you've had a chance to talk to him, so the National Security Council meeting and so on, and maybe in other.
That was the only.
That was the only time.
Unfortunately, John.
But do you think you can work with him? I mean, you've.
Yes, I think we can work with him. He's a lawyer. He knows his law. He has had extensive experience in public service. I absolutely see no reason why we cannot work.
Senator, you mentioned that he's a lawyer. In fact, he's the first lawyer president since Marcos. No?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And you've either served with or worked with the other presidents. Is there a change? I mean, his approach to the presidency, does his being a lawyer
What?
change his approach
If you
compared to President Cory, President
if
Nana,
you
President
notice,
Gloria?
he would often invoke that what he's doing is supported by
legal.
law.
Yes.
So that's the change in approach. He would look at it from from a legal position. He would invoke the law as against the way in which the other presidents did. So there is a change.
But in a legal dispute, I mean, lawyers on opposite sides would both say, we know the law. The law will favor us, and so on.
Yes.
So-
Well,
because my question has to do with the president has also said things like, let's not. I want separation from the United States. So, okay, we'll do away with EDCA. We'll do away with maybe even the Mutual Defense Treaty. Is that in fact possible? I mean, just on his say so.
that is subject to debate. First, John, the concurrence in the ratification of a treaty is a role that the Senate is specifically empowered to do. In other words, a treaty cannot be binding until the ratification by the President is concurred in by the Senate. In other words, the Senate has a clear role. Now, when the President makes a political decision that he wants to terminate a treaty, whether with America or some other company, can he do it on his own without consulting the Senate or getting the consent and advice of the Senate? Again, this is a question that we can argue strongly from both ends. It has not been decided. First, there is a view that the termination of a agreement with another nation is a political act, and the president, as the leader, can do it. Our view is that the ratification of a treaty makes the treaty part of the law of the land and part of international law, which we respect. Now, should it be left solely to the president to revoke a law which is in the form of a treaty? My view is that no, he must consult the Senate. And so again, there are three right now that we can think of. The Visiting Forces Agreement, which was ratified. The
Enhanced.
not the EDCA, the Mutual Defense Treaty,
Mutual MDT
and
na.
the Rome Statute, which established the
International Criminal Court.
Criminal Court of Justice. So there is a process that was followed when the Constitution, when these agreements were ratified. Should the process be again followed in case the political leader decides to terminate? Again, these are questions that probably will end up in court. But you mentioned the EDCA. The EDCA, John, is an executive agreement.
So,
And therefore,
Yes.
it can be terminated by the
By
Prime Minister.
executive.
pero yung visiting forces agreement or yung
Is a treaty, is an
yung Rome
agreement,
Statute,
and Rome Statute,
Treaties,
Mutual
oh.
Defense Treaty. These are both. These are all treaties.
has any president ever in our history, you know, abrogated a treaty?
Not to my recollection. Not
So-
to my recollection.
So this is
The first
this is
time.
new territory.
Another first.
Talagang marami itong
Yeah.
first na itong administration ito. Yes, there was none. And even in the United States, this is not a very common practice. So, and I haven't examined the jurisprudence, but in the United States, there must be cases that reach the court on this issue.
But to be scrupulously fair to the president also, he can be prevailed upon. I mean, he's open enough. For instance, he didn't want the to sign the Paris Agreement, but I think he was finally convinced
Yes,
that,
yes.
you know, we are climate vulnerable.
Yes, that says a lot of him too.
Mhm.
That says a lot about him.
Mhm.
He accepts the fact that there are many areas of governance where he needs advice of other people, of allies. So, yun, that is something that you must give credit to. His openness, because he himself says, you know, my exposure has been mayor of Davao City. I could not have had exposure to many of these sophisticated political and policy issues. And in the particular case of the Paris Agreement, the climate change, he initially said, I don't want to sign it. And after a debate, he said, okay. So, to me, that's a good sign.
Senator, babasahin ko lang ha, meron po tayong flash report, ano? Si Ronnie Dayan po na inaresto kanina umaga, kasalukuyang humaharap sa isang press conference sa Kamara, no? Ulat ni Isa Avendaño Umali.
I think we have Isa on the line. Maybe it's gonna be a quick report. The last button on the line. We'll just
Hingi
interrupt.
lang ako ng tech support dito.
We'll just interrupt the interview for a while for a flash report.
Yes.
Hello, Isa? Hello, Isa?
Did we lose her?
So, kanina umaga daw na nahuli nga itong si Ronnie
Balikan
Dayan.
siguro natin.
Tapos, this afternoon around 4 p.m. ba,
Mhm.
pinakilala, pinipinisinta ni PNP Chief.
Okay. Maybe we should proceed with
He
the
was arrested.
for a while, yeah.
He was arrested because of
Since
a
we're on the
contempt
Oo nga.
citation by the
Oh.
House.
Hmm,
So question, after he testifies, he should be free.
ganun. So, ano, meron na? Okay.
Okay.
Hello, Isa?
Yes, isang magandang gabi sa inyo. No? Kasalukuyang isinasagawa itong press conference sa Office of the Speaker Social Hall dito sa Batasang Pambansa kung saan iniharap nga itong si Ronnie Dayan. Kasama sa press conference na ito ang mga leader ng Kamara na sila House Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez, House Majority Leader Rodolfo Fariñas at itong si House Justice Panel Ray Umali. Kanina ay natanong kung hihingi ba ng immunity itong si Dayan at kinumpirma ni Dayan na siya may balak na humingi ng immunity sa Kamara. Pero according dito kay Umali ay depende yung magiging pahayag ni Dayan para mapagkalooban siya ng immunity at syempre subject ito sa approval ng Speaker of the House. Kinumpirma rin ni Dayan na wala pa siyang abogado pero bukas naman daw siya sa posibilidad na mabigyan siya ng abogado ng gobyerno. According kay Dayan, medyo kinakabahan para raw siya matapos ang pagkaka-aresto sa kanya, pero kanya tiniyak na magpapalakas daw siya ng katawan para makaharap sa pagdinigyan ay isasagawa sa darating na Huwebes, November 24. Tinanong din kay Dayan kung meron ba silang ugnayan ni Senator Laila de Lima nung panahon na siya ay nagpatago. According to Dayan, never daw siyang kinontak ng senadora at kahit sa text daw ay hindi. Paulit-ulit na tinatanong si Dayan hinggil sa mga question sa bilibid drug trade, pero according to Dayan ay sasagutin niya ang mga katanungan sa reopening ng bilibid investigation. So yan muna ang update dito sa press conference sa mababang kapulungan ng Kongreso. Isa Vendaño Umali, Radyo Inquirer, 9:90 bayan nagtatanong, mamamayan nag-uusisa.
Okay. Thank you, Isa.
Thank you, Isa Bendanyo Umali, for that flash report. Senator, so again, sorry, we have a leading lawyer in the land here. So humingi siya ng immunity. Wala pa pala siyang abogado. May sinasabi po kayo kanina na because he was brought in on contempt.
Yeah, so he was,
charges.
the nature of the detention is because he has to be compelled
To testify.
To testify. Yun ay kapangyarihan ng komite at ng Kamara de Representante. Ngayon, pag nagsabi na siya ng kung ano man ang sasabihin niya, nagtestigo na siya, theoretically he is already free to leave because he has removed the contemptuous conduct by appearing. Now I do not know though if he's going to be if charges are going to be filed against him.
Parang the closest that I can think of also in time, no, yung contempt charge yata kay then Makati City Mayor Junjun Binay, parang hindi ayaw niya mag-testify sa Senado, dinala siya sa Senado, di ba? Parang meron pang but when he was already in the Senate, parang
Because precisely the compulsive power of the Senate or the House to bring a resource person and compel him to testify is a power that is recognized by the Constitution and by our laws as a power of the Senate or the House.
Senator, you were a Justice Secretary. What can you say about the issue dun sa bilibid na yung drug trade? During your time, how was it?
There was no such issue during my time. At least, we were never confronted with that kind of a situation. There were gang wars at that time, but not the drug issue.
Senator, ang bilis ng panahon now. We only have 8 minutes left and we still have our little game that we play. But we always try to ask this question, no, bago tayo magtapos. So nakatutok yung attention ng media dun sa war on drugs. Tapos ngayon halimbawa kay Ronnie Dayan, no, sa mga ganitong klaseng usapin or issue. But ang dami yung ginagawa sa Senado. It's not just what we see, no? Meron bang malaking issue o usapin sa Senado na hindi namin masyado napapansin? Sa tingin nyo, kulang talaga sa pagka-highlight?
Ang hindi na-highlight sa... well, I right now, it's the mga darating na linggo. Maraming mga bagay-bagay din. Halimbawa, darating sa amin yung Social Security Pension Fund, yun dapat mabigyan ng kaukulang pansin. Yung of course yung constitutional amendments, no? At yung death penalty. Sa ngayon hindi nabibigyan ng pansin dahil wala pa naman sa amin. Ang pinag-uusapan namin ngayon yung budget. Ngunit kahit dyan sa budget po dapat mabigyan ng kaukulang pansin ang maraming bagay na nakaka-apekto sa ating lahat. But as sometimes it is so boring, it does not attract media attention, but we have to do the work.
Yeah, but yun yung lifeblood ng gobyerno, no?
Yes.
The money.
Yes.
Do you think the budget will be passed by
Yes,
December?
we will pass it. In fact, after this, John, we will, as I speak, my colleagues are still debating. I think it is the Department of Transportation, which when I left, that was on the floor. And then we have the Department of Defense, I think, and Department of Environment and Natural Resources.
Tapos na ba kayo sa Office of the President?
Tapos na. Oh, tapos na.
Paano po yung sorry, one question about that. Yung lump sum na for the ASEAN summit next year na medyo malaki, no? Parang
Well, yes. You cannot avoid firstly the lump sum, what appears in lump sum in the budget has the support
I see.
in the budget of expenditures, no? So meron yan. Medyo malaki. I can't even remember the figure dyan, no? But we need that because our national pride is on the line.
Okay.
So let's support it.
Okay,
Fine.
so I guess it's time for our game. Senator, I'm not sure if you were oriented, so good evening again to everyone watching. We're still with INQ&A with Senator Franklin Drilon. It's a time of our show that we have a game called The Good, The Bad, and The Maybe. So we have 10 topics or issues, and we will ask you if you think it is a good idea or a bad idea. You can say maybe, but only once. It's gonna be your safety
Go.
answer.
okay.
Okay, so let's start. So the first one is Scarborough as Marine Sanctuary.
Sorry?
Scarborough as
Seoul,
Marine
Panatag Seoul.
Sanctuary.
It's a good
Good idea.
good idea. What? Yeah, we should continue to have our claim there.
Okay.
ERC officials refusing to resign.
It's a good idea because they enjoy security of tenure, and precisely they should not be asked to resign. And if they are there, if they committed something wrong, they must be charged.
Ronnie Dayan arrest. We're talking about it.
Well, it's a good idea because then let the truth come out.
Banning e-cigarettes.
Sorry?
Banning e-cigarettes.
It's a good idea. To me, all forms of cigarette smoking.
Oh.
I think you have something in common with the president. Gusto niya, no smoking.
And John, I worked hard 2 or 3 years ago to increase the taxes on cigarettes.
cigarettes, right.
As a health measure. And because of that, huge amounts of money were collected for our health sector.
Duterte skipping APEC Leaders Summit.
Skipping.
Skipping. Gusto
Bad
jet
idea.
lag.
Bad.
Yung gala dinner.
Yeah, okay.
Bad.
Philippines joining Europe based on the president's
Joining what?
Europe.
That-
That was his comment when he met Putin, the president.
The Philippines is longing to be part of Europe, sabi.
Well, we
Good or bad?
join, provided it is not, it does not mean dropping off our other allies. Yes, we should open ourselves to more allies as a matter of policy.
The alleged railroading of the death penalty bill at the House of Representatives.
Bad.
Exhumation of Marcos remains, if they decide on that.
Who? I don't think.
You have a maybe. So.
Maybe. I don't know what. I don't know.
Ninth issue is MMFF choosing indie films over blockbuster hits. It's one of the controversial issues right now in entertainment.
I have really no view on that. I'm not a movie fan, so.
The last one is President Duterte finally saying that he will uphold the Paris Agreement.
Good.
Okay, Senator, is there any of the 10 answers you want to elaborate on? Or mukhang nasagot mo naman lahat? Lahat po may lawyer legal provisos eh.
No.
Kayo lang po may ganun.
No, it's a good game. Continue doing that, and you must be quick on your feet. That's what we are taught in the debates in the Senate. So, yes. So, thank you very much, Christy. Thank you, John,
So
for.
I think we're right on time.
That's right,
yes,
yeah. Papaalam na tayo.
So thank you to everyone who watched us tonight. And who's next on the hot seat, you can find out by following our social media accounts, the Facebook page of Inquire.net and the Twitter accounts of our hosts, so JNary_Newsstand and K Sabilio INQ.
All right, thank you. And once again, we would like to thank the different audiences following us on the different Inquire platforms. And of course, we would like to thank our guest, Senate President Pro Tempore Frank Drilon. Thank you, sir, for making time for this. This has been INQ&A. Thank you and good night.
Mga araw-araw.